So now let's introduce somebody who is not also one of the not only one of the most influential rappers in the United States, one of the few rappers in the Bay left with actually content in their in his work, but he's also half Persian. So I really want to listen to his perspective on this issue right now. We have Locksmith. Should I say former member of the Frontline or the current member of the Frontline?
What's up with
that's what I want to
Frontline?
know
Is
right
Frontline
there.
still Frontline?
Okay, yeah, no, it's definitely still current member of the Frontline. I'm just working on a solo project at the time, but Frontline is still alive. Left is on my album. He's producing on my album, and we're still working on Frontline material. And yeah, so that's definitely we still on the front line.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I want to see you guys go.
So what do you think about this, man? What do you think about the Israel-Palestinian issue, but most specifically about Israeli continuing on building settlements in Palestinian territory?
Well, let me first say that this isn't anything towards like Jewish people and the Jewish culture. This is mainly my main concern is about Zionism. Mm-hmm. Zionism is the very concept of Zionism and the Israeli occupation of Palestine is wrong. It's something that I've always voiced since I've known anything about the situation. It's very essence and from the very foundation of that is wrong. Israel is a legitimate country. I don't even say the word Israel. As far as I'm concerned, like the people, like my beliefs and the people that I associate with, we don't consider Israel a legitimate state, and the rest of the nation does not accept the tactics that the rest of the world does not accept the tactics that Israel is doing. If you even look, earlier in the year, Time, I believe it was Time magazine, who had a cover story about the wrong that Israel is doing and how the rest of the nation is looking bad, how it's making America look very bad because the Bush administration as well, and especially now with the Obama administration, they support and they support and funnel money to Israel. They've been doing it since the beginning, but it really got deep during the Clinton administration. When they were sending millions and millions, I don't know the number of dollars every year. I mean, how could we be in a recession or really in a depression when we send large sums of money every year to Israel? Right. That doesn't make any sense. And Americans need to check yourself, and you need to really think about what's going on when you have an economic crisis like we're in now, and we're sending all this money over to a military state that's basically killing innocent people and
right?
like you said, taking over hundreds of homes. They're doing it all the time.
Yeah, and not only that, but United States has made Israel the fourth largest army in the world.
Right. Who has our back, which is important to us.
Exactly. So
we know that we can call on them. That's the problem.
The Palestinians have no army. These are just local freedom fighters. These are people fighting against oppression. They get help from other nations, such as my father's country, Iran, and that's why Iran is under the microscope right now by America because of their alliance with the anti-Zionist movement. Right. So they are in fear. So which ties Americans directly into it because a lot of Americans, they, like you said when you were speaking earlier, they don't see the significance of something that's way over there, but it affects everyone because now America, which is already occupying Iraq and occupying Afghanistan, now they want to go after Iran because they're like one of the last countries to step up and fight against this oppression, which is Israel and backed by the United States.
Your picture and the our support to Israel also represents our intention of controlling the area. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It's very strategic.
It is. It serves Israel. It almost serves as a base. I mean, it is practically a base of the United States in the Middle East, but it also serves for us as almost as a bridge into the Middle East where we hope to
join forces and take over.
There you go, really basically. So, Locksmith, a couple of other things that I wanted to ask you. I've been following your music for a while now, but I was looking at the lyrics of your last song, Rarest Form. And I took a couple of phrases, and I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what you meant by it, and get your opinion on a couple of things. One of them is it says, "Please don't stick me in a box with these dumb dumbs," and I'm pretty sure you're referring to the Hyphy movement. What is your take on the Hyphy movement?
Well, actually, I mean, because I'm from this area, you could say that at the same time, but it's even broader than the Hyphy movement. I'll address the Hyphy movement, but like on a more wider scale, it has to do with like don't put me in a box with all the silliness and all the ignorance that's going around in the in this genre of music, period, in hip hop. Like, don't put me in a box with the rest of these cats, because I do what I do. I'm the Locksmith. I represent, Richmond, California. I represent Frontline and IMGMI. So I don't fall into the category of what, these other dudes. And as far as like the Hyphy movement is concerned, that was something that I never participated in. But yet, since I was at the forefront of like the resurgence of Bay Area music back a few years ago, we kind of got swept up and clumped together with the rest of the the so-called Hyphy rappers or whatever. But Hyphy was something. See, Hyphy is a culture or whatever you want to call it, was something that existed beyond the music, which is fine. There's some rappers that actually live that lifestyle. Yeah. But what happened is when that became like a popular phrase and a popular term, a lot of other people tried to follow that bandwagon, and it just became a gimmick. So you had rappers who, before that, had nothing to do with it, but they're just doing it just to do it because they feel like if we all just jump on this bandwagon, then we can all, maybe eat off of it. And actually, the exact opposite happened. It really hurt the Bay Area, and it set it back. Yes. Now Bay Area rappers who are associated with that movement aren't able to do as many shows. They're not able to book as many venues because the movement faded and it fizzled. And really, the only person that was able to benefit somewhat from it was like a big artist at the time, like an E40, who's already large anyway. Right. So he's able to use that movement to like gain momentum and to, propel his latest project at that time. Right. But that was something, like when I say that, I'm saying like I never had nothing to do with that. So I would let my skills and let my music speak for itself.
Yeah, I think what really bothered me the most is that the whole Hyphy movement, the whole go dumb, go stupid. I don't know what type of shit like they were promoting. You know what I mean? Like go dumb, go stupid. What the fuck? You mean go crazy or you actually be dumb and be ignorant?
Is being dumb really the way to be these days?
You know what I mean?
As long as you're getting rich, and you got a bitch or a hoe next to you, right? Shaking her thing, then life is good. That's what I
mean, without mentioning all the thing that came with it, like teasing, all of that. But I think it represented us in a bad way. You know what I mean? A place like the Bay Area, we have, we got legendary rappers as Tupac, the Black Panthers, and we got we're so rich in culture and stuff like that, and we get this like Hyphy thing representing us and really like put us all together in a group. You know what I mean? I didn't. That's the thing. That
but let's not act like we're going anywhere. Let's not act like we're going anywhere, because that's why Locksmith is on the show right now. I mean, he's kind of holding it down, and that fire's still burning. So the Bay Area, in a way, is kind of getting a third, fourth life. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Well, I mean, like I said, I can't speak for everybody in the Bay Area. Like the Bay Area, like you said, the Bay Area is such a diverse and it's such a unique place in the whole country. This is a place where like you said, you had the Black Panthers, you had the movement like in Berkeley, and all these free speech movements and all these things. This is like the foundation of our culture. So the music and the population is so diverse. I mean, you have so many different ethnicities. You have Latino, you have Polynesians, you have everything you can think of, Asian, Middle Eastern, Black, white, and everything in between. So we're so diverse and so rich in culture that not one music can we can't be boxed in with just one form, and that was the problem. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the representative, because there is and there was a Hyphy culture, and there's nothing wrong with when you have a culture and you have something that bubbles up and it comes up into the mainstream. The problem is when you have everybody else trying to emulate and try to mimic it, and then it becomes a gimmick, and that's what I was never a part of. You have like legitimate artists that were doing the music because that was their lifestyle. The problem is when dudes just try to like emulate it and do it. I mean, I literally had conversations with a lot of Bay rappers, and I won't say no names, where they was just talking bad about the Hyphy music when it started, but when they saw it start getting big, they said, well, fuck it, let me try to do it too, because maybe that'll get me more shows and blah, 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 and they end up really hurting them, and it's something that they're really going to have a hard time bouncing back from. But I always, in my Frontline and my label, IMGMI and EA Ski, we always stayed consistent with our beliefs and what we stood for. So, so you'll see, like, now that the smoke and all the silliness is over, that we're still standing.
Right. Yeah, man. Shout outs to ESQ right there. And also, it's funny you mentioned that, because it kind of reminded me of Reggaeton and a lot of like Latin rappers.
I was gonna say that same thing. that Hyphy movement, you can kind of compare it to reggaeton, how it was just a fad. And now everybody is trying to embrace the bigger picture as the urban Latino movement.
And
so,
a lot of Latin like hardcore rappers were like, "Nah, man, fuck that."
Yeah, fuck that reggaeton shit.
It'll pass.
And they jumped on it hella quick.
Like, you gonna do a reggaeton joint? Nah.
You should do a collab with one of the reggaeton artists around here, man.
I remember you couldn't go nowhere without hearing reggaeton. Then it just like appeared, you know.
That's tight. That's tight. So the other phrase that I wanted to ask you about is one that says, "I don't need a docile version of education." So, what do you think? You are graduate from Berkeley? Am I right?
Yeah.
You know, Katina over here, she's also graduated from UC Berkeley. You guys should
I
go Bears.
Really? Yeah,
should be go Bears.
Hey.
Graduated with a degree in African American studies.
All right. So what do you tell me a little bit about what you meant right there?
Well, basically, like, even like Berkeley, you know, like I'm very appreciative of my education, and I definitely enjoyed my experience at Berkeley. But at the same time, I see, like, within the politics of, like, you know, of universities, I see what's going on. I see, like, the type of, like basically, like, I'm not the type of person to just accept whatever you feed me, because, like, even like going through college or whatever for however many years I spent at Berkeley, I realized that, like, there's a big difference between learning something and really digesting it and becoming more knowledgeable.
Yes.
And then big difference between that and just like regurgitating something that's being fed to you, you know. And like within the school systems, whether it's on a very low level to a high school level to a college or to a university, like, some people are like just good at regurgitating what they're being fed, and then some people actually soak up the knowledge and learn from it, you know. And there's a big difference. So when I'm saying that I'm not just gonna go, because a lot of times when you go to these schools, people are just training you to be a part of the system. Exactly, so I'm saying that I'm not just, you know, a fucking docile clone that's just being fed this information. You expect me to just become one of your, you know, one of the parts in your food chain. You know, I'm saying, like, hey, I'm gonna take what you got, but I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna think for myself. I'm not just gonna be like one of your little clones.
Yeah, you know what? I also believe that we definitely got to start questioning the things that our format when we teach, not only in college, but I think especially in high school and middle school, you know what I mean, what we teach kids. I mean, how much do these things really help and are going to help them in the future? And how many things are we not teaching them that maybe we're supposed to teach them?
There's a lot of things that are left out, especially in this country, in terms of history and how history is taught and things like that, where you absolutely cannot just feel like you're educated because you went into a classroom. You have to constantly, I mean, I'm all for higher education, and I totally feel you, Locksmith, about Cal. You know, I was an English major, so on the one end, I took courses in ethnic studies and Chicano studies and things like that from my own, right, from just my own enjoyment, and had some wonderful professors that were very outspoken and did address the real issues. But in a lot of my other classes, you know, English classes, Shakespearean classes, there were just some things that were not addressed. And sometimes I felt like I needed to speak up, you know, and speak out. Being one of the few females of color in most of my classes was always an interesting side to be on. But I think it's just, you always have to be learning on your own as well, and doing your own reading and doing your own research, and not just sitting in a chair at a desk and, like you said, just receiving whatever they choose to give to you. There's a lot more information out there than any one teacher can teach.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably writing rhymes most of the time in class anyway. So
I feel you.
Yeah,
I was, you know, because that was kind of the time where I was like, we were starting to, you know, do shows and stuff. So, you know, I'm coming to class, I'm tired, I'm falling asleep and stuff. Right. But, you know, I got through it.
Yeah, man, I feel you. I think we should teach kids like something like money management. You know what I mean? Like, you help them, like, teach them how to manage your money, man. Because people spend money like it's crazy. They don't really like invest in nothing that's gonna bring more money later. Another thing that I wanted to ask you, one of the final questions is, so what do you think about Obama?
What do I think about Obama?
And I seen your interview. I seen a couple of videos in your interview.
So I can't tell you what I think about it, but I do know that I know what the American presidency means, and yes. I know that I'm very much, I'm very skeptical of Obama, but I know what the presidency means. I know that basically at this point in U.S. government, the presidency means nothing. I mean, government is controlled by banks and controlled by, companies at this point. Is controlled by the bureaucrats, which is in turn controlled by bankers, which is in turn controlled by Jewish, contributors, which is why we have such a close tie to Israel. So I know that Obama's administration, his campaign to get elected, had his majority. I know where his money came from. So I know that the presidents have to answer to those people that got them elected. I think that anytime you're running for an office where you raise more money to get elected for a job that you earn less money, you raise millions of dollars to get a job where you earn hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
Like, that don't
then
make
you're
any
in debt
sense.
to
So
somebody.
there's bigger interests at stake. And I think that people like Obama, this presidency, they're pretty much, they're just pretty much handpicked to carry out certain missions, And since I think it's been since like FDR or something like that, majority of the American presidents have been controlled by financial interests outside of the American government, like international banking, and it's even more so now. That's why we're in such a debt. But then you can bail out all these banks and give them such large amounts of money, and you wonder where did our money go? Because we have to keep the banks doing what they're doing. So America's in a really bad situation right now, and Obama is just a part of the pawn. He's just a pawn in the whole part of the game. He's just the face,
Yeah, and I think that really the bailing out of the banks. I think that really showed who was really in charge. You know what I mean?
I mean there's no difference between a Democrat and Republican. They're the same thing to me. The interest is for the elites and to keep the elites in the power and to keep things going. And they basically kind of just, to me, like America was like, psychologically, America was on the brink of revolution. Like, they were so unhappy with what was going on, over the last 8 years, and it got worse and worse and worse. And the same thing's going on now, because we're sending more troops to Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We want to go into Pakistan. We want to go into Iran. And what happened is, right when America was on the brink of being fed up, they gave us a black president. So now we have all the minorities because the country is becoming more and more colored. So now the people of color are, right when they're fed up, then they say, "Oh, okay. Well, we got a black president. Well, okay. Well, let's see what he's going to do now." And it's been a year, and he hasn't done anything. Yeah. I mean, he's said this and that, but if you looked in, we're worse off financially, and we're sending more troops into battle.
Have you seen the Obama Deception?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
All right. Yeah. Pretty interesting documentary. But Locksmith. So tell
people about that before that even came out.
For real, son. So why don't you tell people about what they can...
Don't get me wrong, though. I don't think Obama's like this devil or the worst thing. I think that Obama is just a puppet. He's just a guy that's in a position.
He's trying to do his best.
Who came up through the ranks. Here's the thing, as far as my belief is, elitists, and when I say elitists, the well-off people, the people who have old money, who've been in power in these companies and these corporations and these bureaucrats, they'll allow anybody to raise up in the ranks as long as you play by their rules and play by their, play ball with them. So people like Obama's and whoever else, you can come up in the ranks and you can play, and it's all good as long as you play by those rules. But as soon as you start to speak out and do anything that goes against the elite's interests, then that's when you become a problem, and that's usually when they get rid of you. That's when you have people like a Martin Luther King and people such as Malcolm X who spoke out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's something that I study in City College called elitist theory. That basically talks about that and how change is not abrupt. They're not for abrupt change. The change that they talk about is very, very slow.
Slow, moderate change is no change at all.
Yes, yes. Especially nowadays, man, with the economic situation, with the climate crisis, and all of that. But Lock, tell people, thank you very much for the interview, man. I really appreciate it, and I wasn't lying when I tell you I'm a personal fan of yours, yo. But tell people where they can find you, where they can find your music and your future projects.
When's your next show in the Bay?
Yeah.
Man, just go to iamlock.com, www.iamlock.com, imgmitv.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm on, MySpace, and I got rid of my Facebook because I don't know, it get too. I had my mom and my auntie, all these type of people hit me up on there, So I had to, I discontinued that. But yeah, go to IamLock.com, and you can get updated on everything, and we got to do another show together, man.
Yeah, we got to do, man. And you know what? Much respect to you, and just keep doing your thing, man. Don't sell out, yo. Stay the way you are. Stay the way you are.
Don't stay away too long. I do what I do, man.
I do what's real to my heart. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I don't have other aspects to me. This is just one of the many. This is how I feel. So I speak on it. If I feel like I want to have a good time and go out to the club, well, I might rap about that. If I feel like I want to address what's going on,
nothing wrong with that.
And you saw me having fun at the club, man. So you know I'm not against that. Shit, do as many club songs as you want.
Exactly.
Yo, thank you very much, Luck. For real.
Hey, big ups to Left. Send him our love as well.
Yeah, Ski too.